Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? Welcome back to the channel. This is United vs. Everybody. I am your host, Sean. You are the UVE community. I couldn't be more excited to come back with you today to talk about a win because, yes, we are back again to discuss all the action as Manchester United advance to the next round of the Europa League following a crazy 4-1 victory at home over Real Sociedad. What a crazy game. Danny B in the house. Good to see you this morning, chaps. Hope you guys are doing well. Danny B, always a pleasure, man. Hope everything is going well in your neck of the woods. Sorry, just let me skip this over here. Thank you. Again, it was a match full of some drama, full of excitement. We saw pens given, we saw pens taken away, we saw some silky touches from Xerxes, from Hoyland, and hey, a few goals from us for a change. So how about that, right? We're going to talk about the match as always, as we do on the reactions. We're going to talk about some of the individual performances, some of those penalty decisions, because those were insane. It was like every time I turned away, there was a pen awarded. It was crazy. And then obviously we're just going to hear your guys' thoughts. I'm going to share some of my own and look ahead a little bit at the weekend and whatnot. So first, we're going to start off with a bit of news. Again, there wasn't a whole lot of news, not enough to do another video. So we'll do a little bit of the news today. So we're going to get stuck in with that. Like the video if you haven't yet done so. Subscribe to the channel if you are new and you want to just help the community grow. We are on the road to 3K, so every little bit helps. Check the memberships to learn more about how you can get involved in the content that we put out, whether that's scouting reports on players that you'd like to see done, topics for the videos, even topics for questions from a boot. You guys know we've started doing questions from a boot, so find out that. And if you can't commit to a membership, don't worry about it. If you still want to support the channel, there's always like super chats or super thanks after the videos are live. So, of course, there's never any pressure. You guys know I don't do this for money, but I'm not gonna begrudge anyone if they want to show their support in that way. So, never any shortage of options. But let's get stuck in. What is Danny saying here? I thought Spinios had a deal done on Quenda. I mean, we're going to talk about Quenda, of course, because obviously the big news coming out has to do with Giovanni Quenda. I mean, and you guys will know, and we'll talk about this. I'm not really that upset by the Quenda news, honestly. Again, you never know how seriously we are in for any of these reported targets. Again, we just talk about the rumors, the news, so it's always a little up there. I think somebody like Romano Orentine, somebody said we were in for him. I think the issue was PSR as always, but we're going to talk about that. But it's interesting stuff. But start off with a little bit of positive news because I want to ride the wave of this positivity. Right, it's being reported by a couple outlets this morning that Amad Diallo is expected to be back training with the first team at the beginning of next month if everything goes according to plan with his recovery and the healing process and the fitness. Apparently his recovery is going much better than expected. Now, again, I don't want to rush anything. We've seen what happens sometimes when you rush players back, like Licha when he came back from his foot, and then they looked at the thing and were like, "Oh, we didn't look at the others. Oh yeah, you're still not cool." So you definitely don't want to rush anything back, but it is optimal, like good news, right? He was pictured at Old Trafford yesterday, walking around freely, no crutches, no boot, no nothing. So praying that he comes back strong, praying that he doesn't get rushed back, praying that maybe there's a chance we could see him before the end of the season. How amazing would that be to see him come in last few matches of the season, come in for maybe a Europa League final, and just be the absolute difference maker that we know he can be. But if we can get some key players back fit, especially during this kind of tail end of the season as we're heading into, mid-March, April, May, that would be such a godsend. It really make a difference for us at this late push in the season, man. It's crazy. Danny says I'm not upset either. Prefer Mora, the better talent. I mean, yeah, different position. But yeah, here there's a lot of options out there. I'm not too fussed about the Giovanni Quenda stuff, but interesting stuff. Some more updates here with the stadium. So this is coming from Andy Burnham, the mayor of Greater Manchester. He has confirmed that no public money will go towards the building of the stadium. I was talking a little bit about this with Dylan yesterday. United are going to be solely responsible for the funding. Now, where they get that funding, United, it's completely on them to figure it out. They want to go the Madrid route and work on some investments if they want to start, getting some more sponsorships because they've got this new guy, Mark Armstrong, the chief business officer from PSG. I'm excited about that guy. I hope that he can replicate what he did at PSG. But the mayor of Manchester, despite what the media will try to get you to believe, despite what the media has legitimately, provenly tried to get other content like Terry Flewers, like the taxpayers in Manchester, the government, they are not paying. Now the government is behind the regeneration project, and Old Trafford and that whole area are a part of that project, but United is paying for that. It's not a big deal. So it'll be interesting to see where we get the money from. So what Burnham did say, though, is that the city is going to be contributing to the removal of the freight terminals, like the shipping container kind of stuff, that are sitting in the lot where the new stadium will go down. So like United owns that whole footprint. There's a lot of shipping containers that are chilling in the spot where the stadium is going to be. So the city is going to be removing those. But that's because the city is going to be reusing them for other projects going on throughout the city, which is now, according to the mayor, a more cost-effective solution to working on those projects than the initial options that they were given. So this new stadium has allowed the city to come in and handle a part of one of their other projects for a lot cheaper. So big news there. Pretty sad to see that. Old Trafford will be getting demolished at some point, but if you can get there before it does, jump on it. I encourage you. But again, just confirming what we've kind of already discussed, that Old Trafford, the whole new project, the new stadium, is not going to be funded by taxpayers. So don't believe what you read in the news, because we know that there's a lot of abus out there. Transfer news. Let's start with a little bit of transfer news, and then we'll go into the big Giovanni Quenda stuff. But so you guys remember that Turkish journo who's been heavily involved in a lot of the transfer stuff, especially in January. Remember all the Victor Osimhen things? Yagis Sabanchulu, remember him? So he has reported now that United are now looking at another young center back. We've been linked with Jimenez. We've been linked to Ramirez yesterday. So he says United want to sign Fenerbahce center back Yusuf Akşiçek. Yep, that's how you say it. 19-year-old defender. I should have looked that up. I made a note to look that up, and I completely forgot to. But we're going to call him Yusuf now. So he'll go the Bono, Cher, Adele route, just the first name. Yusuf, he's 19 years old. Apparently United are planning to meet with Fenerbahce in June to discuss that. It's going to be difficult to get young center backs out of Fenerbahce with Jose Mourinho there, because we know Jose loves a young center back, but it might not matter. It might be a moot point because Jose might not be there anymore. But apparently United were planning to send scouts to watch him last night in Fenerbahce's loss. If you guys watched that match, they did lose to Rangers, went to pens. Fenerbahce are not great at pens. Dusan Tadic stood up and missed the very first one. It was not a great one. But apparently Manchester United wants Yusuf very much, and the Yagi Sobanchulu, the journalist, says that he expects an official offer of around 10 to 15 million pounds to come in the summer. So another young teenage center back that United are apparently looking at, according to reports. Again, you take it with a grain of salt. You never know. But interesting. That makes a couple now, 3 or 4 in the last few months that we've been reportedly looking at. So interesting stuff. Danny says he costs more than 25 million, too expensive for Spinios. I don't mind if we don't sign big money players. I think you guys know that I'm a big fan of doing some actual scouting, a big fan of actual recruitment. There are also some really good bargains out there, like Jonathan David and whatnot. You can make even like just 100 to 150 million go a long way in the summer if you know what you're doing, and if you can move on some players. Like you could get, I'm not talking like Forest transfer business from a couple years ago where you're bringing in like 24 players, but you could easily bring in 6, 7, even 8 quality young rotation options that are actually first team ready if you just have some decent recruitment going on. So it doesn't all have to be the big money, and I don't think we're quite there yet in terms of our rebuild to jump on a big money signing these days, because I think we don't want to throw off this new wage structure when it's just getting started. We don't want to spend a butt ton of money on a big signing right away when Ruben Amorim is going into his first summer window and we really need a build. Again, you guys know my catchphrase now. I'm going to start a hashtag on this. Build, not buy. We need to build a squad. We don't need to just buy players, if that makes sense. So, big up everyone. What is going on here? Who's jumping in? Teresa says, hello, Lionhearts and I were spot on the score. We just didn't expect a fluke -1. awesome game, and the fans stepped up. Yeah, I know there were a couple of people, Teresa, who predicted we were going to get a big score. Now nobody got the actual score line exactly right, but I'll give you your credit for being positive with the goals. So big up yourselves. Um, I kind of expected a bullcrap pen because that's just literally the only way you still see that score against us in Europe is bullcrap pens. But yes, on your last note, yes, the fans did step up. That was one of the things I said in the preview. I want the fans to get behind the team. I know there's a lot of frustration. There's been a ton of negative PR in this season, and obviously the season itself is not going well. But I was proud of the fans for stepping up last night. Like I said last night, yes, you can criticize the players, but you still need to want them to perform well, and we need to will them to win. And I really do think that the fans were up for it last night. So, but big up, Teresa. Good to see you again. Danny says, unknown players in South American market is our budget. I don't have a problem with that. Go get the Nippons. Go get the players from the Belgian league and stuff. Go get Yashari. You could still get Yashari for like 25, 30 million. And even if that was the most expensive signing we did, like, he is class. Danny says, I was mainly shopped there in the championship. Yeah, go get a Hackney. Go get Dibbling if he gets relegated. Go get some of these players who can hang in English football as well. But then go get some of the classy unknowns. Go get the Haraldson at Lille. He's a monster. He was all over the place for Lille this week. So there's options. So big news this morning. We talked about a little bit already, but big news this morning. Those of you who wanted to sign Giovanni Quenda might be set for disappointment this summer because it's being reported by Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein with The Athletic that Chelsea are set to beat United to the signing of Giovanni Quenda. However, the news is that while they've agreed to a deal now, he won't actually join them for another year, summer of 2026. Similar to what they did with the Christian Pulisic kind of a thing, where they signed him in I think it was January, but he ended up technically back on loan to Dortmund till the summer. So I wish United would do more deals like that. We should have done that with Nippon. We should have got him signed up in the summer so he would be set to join us in January. But again, no money, man. But again, I'm not going to say like no money like it's an excuse. It's just the way things are. Ineos need to do better with being more proactive about finding ways to boost money. Now, advancing in the next round of the Europa League does help. We get prize money for each round we get through, plus you get the added match day revenue. That's all going to help. Sacking the 175,000 a year body language expert's going to help as well. But apparently the medical for Quenda is done. They're doing a 7-year plus 1 option deal, which I thought they weren't allowed to do that kind of stuff anymore. But I don't know what the cutoff is. But we know Chelsea love an amortization. I mean, that's like their favorite word in the world. Fee is between 45 and 50 million euros, according to Fabrizio Romano. And apparently, again, like we said earlier, that PSR is the issue that's holding us back because it's forcing us to have to hold off on going too early for some deals. Now, that was something I think Jorge Mendes, super agent Jorge Mendes, commented on not that long ago, is that it's PSR. We don't have the money to make these kind of deals. But again, to wrap it up, I'm not even that bothered. Yes, it's annoying, and I know there's always going to be part of the fan base that whenever there's a player we're linked to that ends up going to another club, the rage sets in right away. Why can't Ineos are a joke? And I'm like, A, we don't know how seriously we're in for someone, and B, in this specific case, and I've been saying it for almost a little over a month now, like, it's not that I don't rate Giovanni Quenda. I think he's a very good player. I just think that we have players that can do what he's doing for us already in the academy. Again, Camison, Montato. I mean, Camison's older than Giovanni Quenda. He's been outstanding in the academy. He's lighting it up this season. Give Camison, give Montato, give these guys some minutes towards the end of the season. Bring them along for the summer tour. And let's see if they can hang. Let's see if they're ready for a squad role. Because Giovanni Quenda is 17. Again, though, even if that's a position that Amorim and the club and like Barada and Wilcox, even if that right wing back, right midfielder position, if that's something they are prioritizing and they want a top player, I mean, you could still go get someone like Frimpong, who is literally the same price as Giovanni Quenda this summer. Or you got Roger Fernandez, a guy at Braga, Luis Enrique at Marseille. You guys know I really like him. He's having an outstanding season as well, plays the same position. But again, this is a lot of this is going to depend on Diogo Dalot's future, how Amorim, rates him. Obviously, if we're linked and we're heavily interested in someone like Quenda, we know that that's the side of the pitch that we're trying to strengthen. But we'll see. Ahmad can play there, and he's done well. Dalo's there now. Mazraoui can play there. Again, we've got academy players that I think can come in and do that job. So let's see what everyone says. Danny says, yeah, 100% on the youngsters. Then he says, fact, Chelsea doing business now should show how far we are behind. Chelsea, I mean, I'm not going to look to Chelsea's transfer strategy as a blueprint for anything because Chelsea have spent so much money. They're not going to win anything. They might win the Conference League this year, but I mean, does anybody really follow the comp? Can anyone tell me who's won the Conference League since it's come out? I mean, come on. If someone asked me yesterday, I was at Bill, so I went to go. It's so funny. I went to go meet Dylan at Sean O'Callahan's, this pub around the corner. Get there, and I walk in, get there a little early, make sure I get a good table, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't have Paramount right now." I'm like, "What the hell?" So I text everybody who was supposed to be there and tell them, hey, they're not going to be open. So Bill, awesome, absolute hero. Again, like I said yesterday, not all heroes wear capes. Bill says, just come over. So we go over there. But we're talking about the amount of money we're spending and stuff. And man, it's just, I forgot where I was going with that. But I'm not looking at Chelsea as the blueprint for anything. They've spent so much money. They might win the conference. That's what Bill was asking about the Conference League. And I'm like, I wouldn't even care if we're in the Conference League. I really wouldn't even care. I wouldn't even really celebrate it too much, to be honest. It's a money grab tournament. And I don't even know who's won it already, but that's where I was going with it. Sometimes I lose my track of thought. So when you guys say good points sometimes after I've been talking for 10 minutes, that's why I don't remember what you're talking about, because I say a lot. Danny says, we said anything over 30 to 35 is way too much. And I hold true to that. And again, it's not even just a financial thing. If we didn't have players like Camison and Montato or even like Scanlon who have been doing so incredibly well, I might be a little bit more peeved by it, but I'm not. It's a combination of he's young, he's like, I don't want to pay 40, 45 million, and we've got these young players that can do this. Like Danny says, Camison 100%. Like, we don't need to spend that much on a youngster when we've got Camison in the academy ready to go. Let's use the academy. Then he says, I honestly would start Ahmad at right wing back and buy Acuna or an Mbeumo and Dibbling. And yeah, Haraldson can play there as well. You could probably even put Liam Delap in there too. You could do a lot. I like players in that role. I like a balance in that. Similar to that pivot, you've got a defensive-minded midfielder and you've got like a playmaking. I want someone in that 10 who is more playmaking, and I want someone in that 10 like Acuna who is a runner, who is a link-up, who is going to be basically a second striker, almost like a winger in that role. Like, that's like what Garnacho is doing, basically. Then he says Cunha, Dibbling. Cunha is going to be a bit of money. So if you offer Wolves a little bit more than the release clause, it helps. It's better financially, but at the same time, someone is just going to come in and pay that release clause. So just be that. Danny says, where are all these Chelsea players going to play? And that's exactly why, Danny, I don't look to Chelsea as some sort of blueprint. Chelsea are doing the opposite of building. They're buying, and they're just scattergunning everything. It's like when you do fantasy football, and you get that one guy in your league who's just hoovering up all the players, and doesn't even play them all. He just has them just so he can have them. And I mean, it's just like Chelsea. I mean, Mudryk probably. I don't know if Mudryk's going to be back. They're already looking to get. I mean, when's the last time Madueke played? Reece James is never fit. They're letting people like Disasi go out on loan, like more like a disaster. I think Nicholas Jackson's injured. Who's the other kid I'm thinking of? I know who he is. It's just off the top of my head. The guy that got from Nkunku, like he's barely playing and already wants to leave. Like, they're just buying players and no one's really getting any minutes. They spent 200 million on two midfielders. They still got Lavia. I mean, they're a joke, man. Like, it's an absolute joke. And people were hyping him up. They brought in Sancho. They're going to be hopefully going to be stuck with Sancho. We'll see. We got that news the other day that maybe they will pay money to not make that permanent. But then they've already paid money for Sancho, and we're getting more money, I think, with as they're progressing in the Conference League, the same as Rashford. We saw somebody on Twitter yesterday bigging up Rashford because he got an assist, and I'm like, cool. we're getting bonuses when he plays well, and we're getting bonuses every time you guys progress in the Champions League. So cool. Like I told you guys the other day after PSG knocked out Liverpool, now I'm all in on Aston Villa because it just means more money for us. So, but I don't know where these players at Chelsea are going to play, Danny. It's a bit of a shit show over there. While we're shit show on the pitch, Chelsea are a shit show in the transfer market. Teresa says Amorim has introduced players for the new season. He's had them on the bench for a few games. Madness to his method. I mean, he's we saw. I mean, I posted yesterday when the lineup was released. A lot of youngsters on that bench. Fredrickson, one of the Fletchers, I want to say Amos, Scanlon as well, and obviously a bunch of keepers too, because that's apparently all we have now. But I think those players. I mean, we saw the same thing with some of the other youngsters getting some minutes, training, especially traveling. So we will see what happens. I wish we were in a better place in the league. Maybe we could afford to experiment a little bit more. I wish we were playing better. Maybe we could afford to give some players some minutes. Maybe we had some fitness. We could rotate. We just can't. So, but we'll see. That's the news. Let's move on to the match itself. Please don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't yet. Subscribe if you are new, because we're talking about team selection. What were your thoughts? I mean, it was pretty much what we expected it to be, aside from the full debut for Aiden Heaven at home. Now, we said that could be an option. Remember, I had Lindelof starting because he did start the other day, but it might be too soon for him to start back-to-back. But the full debut from Heaven, I mean, that was a big call as we're talking about introducing youth. That was a huge call. Now, we know that Heaven came highly rated. Yes, he came from Arsenal's academy, but he was highly rated by Jason Wilcox. They gave him one of those first team numbers. He got in the 20s, not one of these 80s or anything, not these 40s even. And Jason Wilcox said he's first team ready, and he's shown it. He came out at halftime for Harry Maguire recently and did excellent. Started his full debut last night at Old Trafford in Europe. I mean, that's a huge call from Ruben Amorim. And so I like that. We know that Amorim has a track record of playing youth. Did that a lot at Sporting. He's done that with some of these players here. Obviously, Cheeto coming in as well. But Amorim had this to say about Aiden Heaven. He said, Aiden Heaven starts because when you prove yourself in training and in matches, you are an option to play. He's doing very well, and we're excited to see him. So, again, mentality. Putting 100% in everything you do, whether on and off the pitch. Like Rashford couldn't do it. Sancho didn't do it under Ten Hag. Like, they just didn't take it seriously. So, cameo from Toby Collier again, excellent. Little interesting though in the team selection, only 2 subs, and not one was made until like the 78th minute. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Do you think that was just because we were doing fine? Maybe we didn't need to risk anything more. I mean, Eriksson came on, Collier came on, that was it. Would you have liked to seen more changes? There weren't maybe more of the youngsters once we got up to the late goal. I mean, we didn't end up needing to make any more changes at the end of the day. Like, we won handedly, and it does mean more rest for guys like Ugarte or something. So maybe it's just, why risk it? I maybe would have liked to seen one of the youngsters come on towards the end there, but it is what it is at the end of the day. Danny said, Heaven started a little shaky, but grew into the game. His progressive passing through the lines in the second half was world-class. Yeah, there were a couple instances where he was showing some willingness to just drive the ball out from defense in that first phase of attack, too. So I like what I see from Heaven. We're going to talk more about him a little later, a little foreshadowing there. It was interesting to me as we move on to like this overall tactics and performances, that we kind of switched it up a little bit from the way we've been playing recently. So obviously in the last several games, we've been kind of sitting in a little low block, maybe at times a mid block, pressing a little bit on deep set pieces for the opposition. But we didn't go that route last night. We were a little bit more open. We were a little bit more, I guess, aggressive, kind of willing to get high up the pitch, get involved. And part of that did cause us a little bit of issues. We were struggling to, it looked to me like we were chasing the game around a little bit early on. We know that Sociedad are very good at moving the ball around, but it was probably a combination of, hey, we're at home. We have to, we can't just sit back like that. We want to show the fans something. But also we know that Amorim doesn't like sitting in a low block. He said it a couple times recently, like he doesn't like playing that the way he doesn't like not having the ball. So he's finding a way to make it work. He's finding a way to use his tactics with the players he has. He's finding a way to change things when you need. I don't have a problem with managers sitting deep and countering against certain opposition, hitting long balls when you've got opponents who play very high, like Spurs or like Liverpool or something. That's how you have to do it. That's how Ali beat City. Did a double over City. You have to play that way against some teams. It's just the way it is, and we have the players for it. So make of it what you will. But we ended up doing fine, right? We scored more goals in this one match than the last 3 matches ahead of that combined. So I'm not going to complain about it. It got the job done, right? Um, much more possession in this one compared to the last couple games. So we had 60% possession flat through the entire match, first half, second half, the whole game, 6%. Crazy XG of 4.02. We had 25 shots, 10 of which are on target, 16 from inside the box. We created 4 big chances. Now, granted, the pens helped the big chances. It was like more than a chance and a half for XG there, but that was the most shots we've had in the match all season. We were just peppering that goal. And hey, look at that. Our accurate crosses went from 1 to 4. So getting a little better in the final third. We'll talk more about that later, but seriously, we're just not super great at putting the ball in the box, but we're getting better. Some of that is individual players. Some of that is just isolation between the players when we get the ball and then the strikers. Some of that is just decision making. So like Dorgu's crossing, not great. Sociedad, contrarily, had an XG of 1.05, only 8 shots. They had less shots total than we had on target. They only had 3 shots on target, and they only created 1 big chance. So again, we may have looked a little like chasing shadows at times against their superior technical players, but at the same time, there was never a point where I was worried, if that makes sense. Even after the bullshit penalty, I was very proud of our fight though on the night. When you look at the numbers for the 1v1s, the duels, the dribbles, those kind of things, they are much better than they have been. I thought maybe we're starting to see a little bit of a mentality shift, maybe after a couple good results, a couple good performances. Maybe it was a thing of fake it till you make it, kind of let's start bigging up the crowd, let's start fighting for each other, and then the natural kind of, even on a unconscious way, like that natural mentality will just kind of show itself. I don't know, but I liked what I saw last night. Even like Garnacho sliding in, making a crazy tackle and bigging up the crowd. Like that's the kind of stuff we want to see more of, man. At the end of the day, that doesn't win you games. It's not a stat for bigging up the crowd, but at the end of the day, that shows me something, and that's contagious. On the pitch, in the dressing room, the crowd get behind it. They start feeding off it. It's a ripple effect. That's what we need. We haven't seen enough of that this season. Brah, big up, man. Hi, yesterday was an exciting watch. Great result. It was definitely an interesting watch. The pens were just, there was a point where we were watching it where we got another pen. I think it was the one that was chalked off, but I was like, is this only going to be a game of penalties? Like, this is insane. It was absolutely insane. But good to see you, Rob. Good morning. The defense, solid. But to be honest, they didn't really have much to do. I saw, though, that Mazraoui completed the most passes in the match and had the best pass accuracy in the match. So, again, normally I wouldn't look at that stat in itself because you guys know that, like clean sheets, it can be a bit misleading. But when you watch Mazraoui play, the way he plays, the sort of passes he makes, the sort of dribbles he makes and things, there's a little bit more nuance to it. He also completed, again, on that note, 100% of his dribbles. 1 out of 1 crosses, 1 out of 1 tackles, 4 out of 6 duels. I mean, he was just solid, Mazraoui. Like I said, he's probably one of my, like for me, probably the second best player we've signed post Fergie after Bruno. So he's so silky, man. He's so technical. He's one of the best players I've seen us have in a while. Dorgu, he's new. He's missed a few matches, right? And he's young, but he just, as far as the mentality, he looks like he gets it. Eager to get involved in everything. I'm sure being suspended contributes to that. He wants to, when he's suspended and you want to play, you want to get stuck back in. But he was dangerous. Sociedad struggled to keep Dorgu quiet. He was the most fouled player on the match. He won the most duels. He won 11 duels. His crossing is still crap, but his crossing didn't frustrate me as much yesterday as his hesitancy to take on a shot when he has the opportunity. He looked like he was kind of forcing himself to try to find someone else when he actually could have taken the shot on himself. It is what it is. I'm not going to split hairs because he also won 2 out of 3 tackles, had an interception as well. He's been a very good signing. I'm really pleased with that so far. And fair play to Dallo, too, on the opposite side. He had a decent match. His passing wasn't tremendous, but he was winning tackles, winning duels, etc. He grabbed himself a goal late on by getting into just a really good position for that cutback. Glad to see us score a cutback for once instead of just conceding them. But Dalot, got to give him flowers when he earns them. Casemiro, another solid showing. Not as good as recently, simply because we were a little bit more expansive. So he did have to do a little bit more work than he's had to do recently. But he was exposed, but it wasn't bad. I thought he had a just fine night. Garnacho got himself the assist. He's got to work on his crossing a little bit, but and his 1v1s were not great last night compared to what they have been. He completed no dribbles, he made no tackles, only won 2 out of 8 duels, Garnacho. So I'd like to see him work on that a little bit more, but it was good to see him try to find his teammates a little bit more. Zirkzee, another solid night. Most dribbles in the match, 3 chances created, 4 out of 5 dribbles, 2 out of 2 long balls, 6 out of 8 duels. Did you guys see his little heel touch to keep that ball in play? I want to put it up on the screen for you guys now because this thing was a thing of beauty. Let's watch this real quick, shall we? This thing was silky. Watch this touch. It's going to be like the first couple seconds, so make sure you watch it. But look at this touch from Zirkzee. Boom, behind this. And he comes in, he takes it all the way up for himself, puts a really good ball on the box. And
hopefully in about 5 minutes.
The back heel, like, top slash right field turn, just put that back into space, keep the ball in the play alive.
Hopefully in about 5 minutes.
I could literally watch that all day. Inject that in my veins. If you could bottle that up and put it in a little mixer for me.
Hopefully in about 5 minutes.
That was one of the most I think stuff like that goes unnoticed a lot when it happens, and I have to make sure I stop and give it the credit it deserves because that was silky, and he's got that in his locker. We've seen him nutmeg people. I told you the dude's favorite spice is nutmeg. It's all he cooks with. That was incredible. So big up Zirkzee. Says Dutch Ronaldinho. I mean, he looked it, didn't he? That was an excellent. Stuff like that. I want to make sure it gets its props. There's another one from Højlund when he got to the assist, the heel chop towards the edge of the box to create space for himself. I mean, that kind of stuff's going to go unnoticed. I mean, he had a solid match. Højlund ran his socks off. His link-up play was a lot better. He won the pen, provided an assist for Dalot, created 3 chances on the night, 6 out of 10 duels. He could have had a goal too, if not for just a little bit of a confidence issue. I don't know why he was taking that shot on his right instead of maybe letting that ball roll to his left foot. It is, again, comes to that moment in front of goal where he's getting in his own head, but he did very well to get that assist for Dalot. Again, the heel chop to create that space for himself was a thing of beauty. But now Højlund's on 7 goal involvements in the Europa League right now, and that's immense. Like, the dude is just a straight up European competition baller. Like last year in the Champions League, this year in the Europa League. Maybe we just need to get a Premier League striker and let Højlund be our Europa League striker or our Champions League striker. Kind of like when Jose used Sergio Romero as his Europa League keeper. Maybe that could just be Højlund's job. I don't really care at this point. But Danny says, if and when Zirkzee clicks into 5th gear, there's going to be no stopping him. Yeah, if Zirkzee, he's looking better and better and better. And you know what? Big up to Zirkzee too, because when he got booed off a couple months ago, that was such a disgrace from the fans. But he got booed off. He could have very easily just ran down that path and not wanted to mentally, emotionally get himself back right. And he came back, the best way you can as a player in that situation. You just perform. You shut people up. It's not about proving a point. You don't have to prove anything at that point. You had a bad match. It is what it is. But he came back. He's shown what he can do. We've been playing him a little differently, which, again, similar to Højlund, when you play to a player's strengths rather than try to always shoehorn them into a role or into a tactic that they're not quite comfortable with or that they've never done, of course it's going to make a difference. And I think the way we're using Zirkzee, similar to where the way Thiago Motta used him at Bologna, is like a second striker, getting more involved in the build-up, using his close control. Like we've seen, like Zirkzee's footwork for such a big dude. Again, it reminds me of like prime Benzema, his early days at Real Madrid. It reminds me of prime Ibrahimovic, talking like old school. Like you guys go look up Ibrahimovic goals. There's a goal he scored. He was just dicing people left and right. Like it's not fair how a big dude can be so good with the ball. But big up Xerxes, man. I'm not gonna gas him up. I'm not gonna say he is the answer. I still need to see more from his overall game, especially in front of goal. But he's performing right now. He's getting into really good form, and he's maintaining that form at a crucial period of the season. Now, I wish he could have done that earlier on, but it is what it is. I'm not going to split hairs. Can't change the past, but we just need everybody to keep stepping up. Danny says Rasmus worked his balls off. He wants it. And even Amorim said, like, you can see he's anxious. He wants a goal. Like, he wants a goal. We're trying to find him. Now, again, I do think we were trying to force the ball to Rasmus a little too much. Bruno did it one time where he could have scored himself. Dorgu's done it. It'll come. Focus on getting some goals. Focus on doing that. And then we can just be patient. Get yourself into good positions and the ball will find you. That's all you have to do as a striker. Get yourself into good positions and the ball will find you. Danny says, yeah, Xerxes is definitely a 10. I told you, he's more like a McTominay. He's like, if McTominay was made of silk, that's what Xerxes is. He's bigger. He's on a full run. He just holds on to the ball. I don't know how McTominay used to do the same thing on a full run. There was no stopping McTominay. Xerxes doesn't have as good a shot as McTominay does, but like some of the control we've seen, especially when these balls are coming in from high angles, and his first touch. I mean, he did this once last month where this ball came in from a high angle, and his first touch literally nutmegged a defender, and he just created that's insane. Like if he was Brazilian and played in midfield, and like people would be wanking in a hanky in the corner over this guy. Like it's insane. But let me know your guys' thoughts on any of the individual standouts overall. We're going to jump into my thoughts here, starting with number 1, Hat Trick Hero. I love when I get to sing that song. He's a hat trick hero. Ooh, gave myself a hernia there. Hat trick hero. Do I need to say more? We all know who we're talking about. Take a seat, Roy Keane. Sit down and take a bow, Bruno Fernandes, because our Portuguese Magnifico got himself a hat trick last night. Second one of the season for Bruno. Bruno haters will say, well, 2 of them were pens, because apparently pens don't count. They only count when it's Harry Kane in a Euros when you're playing Andorra or some bullshit. But Bruno, hat trick, 2 of them are pens. I don't even care. I'm going to be honest. The first pen was a bit soft. The one we awarded, that first one we got. But I guarantee you, and I said this live, I guarantee you that we were awarded that one because the ref felt bad about the bullshit one he gave Sociedad, because that one was one of the softest pens I've ever seen. Lionheart's big up. Come on, United. Yes. Welcome back, Lionhearts. Yeah, big up, man. Yeah, so hat trick for Bruno. Even aside from the goals, though, Bruno was again solid in that pivot role. 6 out of 8 duels, 2 out of 3 tackles, got an interception, 9 ball recoveries, 6 of 9 long balls. So his long balls improved, and he created 4 chances as well in the night. Like the guy is the literal linchpin of this team. He has been since he's arrived. We rolled out those stats the other day. He had 3 back-to-back 25 goal involvement seasons. He's always had 20 goal involvements per season at least since he joined, and that was including the season he joined January. He still had 20 goal involvements in all comps. Like the guy is he's world class. Anyone who says Bruno is not world class does not know football, in my opinion, because the guy is world class. I have no idea what Roy Keane was on last week when he just went in on Bruno for no reason. It doesn't make sense. So now with this hat trick, Bruno has 41 goal contributions in the Europa League, which is the most of any player in Europa League history, by the way. It's one of those bittersweet stats because we don't want to be in the Europa League that much, but you still got to give him his flowers. I read too that since his Premier League debut, Bruno has won 76 Premier League points via goals and assists on his own. So he has single-handedly won us 76 points since he arrived at the club. During that time frame, only Mo Salah has won more points for his club than Bruno. It is absolute criminal that Bruno doesn't have more trophies at United. The amount of work he puts in, the amount of class he brings to the pitch, the amount of chances he creates, and the amount of literal games he has won. Literally, only Mo Salah has won more points on an individual level in the Premier League since he arrived. It's insane. When was the last time we had a hat trick at Old Trafford? I think it was Ahmad almost 2 months ago now, against Southampton. Those last like 8 minutes. I'm still buzzing. I was there for that. That was an insane game. But yes, that was the last one. And then I think Bruno had a hat trick earlier this season. But again, at the end of the day, Roy Keane needs to hold his hands up, and all the Bruno haters do need to do the same. I can't believe there are people who don't rate Bruno. If Roy Keane's gonna hold his hands up after his James Madison digs, and I want to see him on the next episode of the Overlap holding his hands up about Bruno. I don't want to see any more of this. Oh, talent's not enough. You got to work for it. It's his job. You get the ball in the half turn, you do a job. I don't want to hear any of that bullshit, Roy. Hold your hands up. Take the L. Give the man his flowers. And I hope Gary Neville goes in on him. I hope Ian Wright goes in on him. I hope Jill goes in on him. Because if he's got one bad thing to say about Bruno after that performance last night, Roy Keane's going to lose a couple cool points in my book. But you guys let me know what your thoughts are on Bruno, hat trick hero. We're going to move on to my next point because you guys know I kind of do a little bit of a sandwich here. Got a couple of good points, and then usually there's a point of criticism in there. But number 2, final ball better, still not great. It's going to be a little nitpicky. It is what it is. You guys know that it's like a coach in that there's always something that you could do better. You give props, but you always want to look for some things that you can work on too. You want to keep people working. You don't want people to get complacent. The final ball is better. Still not great. I saw a lot more selfless and mindful play from us in the final third, especially like from Garnacho. I thought everybody was getting their head up to find a teammate. Garnacho created those 4 chances. He assisted both of our open play goals in this round of the Europa League, Garnacho. So the last week and then this one from open play this time were coming from Garnacho providing the assist. And that's exactly what we've been asking for him. That's all I've wanted Garnacho to do is make better decisions in the final third, get your head up. And when he does, it usually creates something. So it's going to sound flip-floppy when I say the final ball is good, but it's not better. But it's going to sound flip-floppy now when I go back to my earlier point that there were several times where I thought we were trying to do that too much. We were trying to force the issue. We made things a little bit more complicated than needed to be by trying to hold on to the ball, take 2 extra passes to try to find someone like Højlund rather than just take the shot on themselves. So again, some decision-making aspects of the final phase better. Some of the other ones, just take the shot, get the goal. We can regroup and try again the next round. But, if you have the shot, take it. So again, there are times where Bruno, times where Dogu, just take the shot instead of trying to force. I get Højlund wants a goal. We want him to get a goal, but take the shot next time. It is nitpicking, I know, like I admit it, but it's just something I picked out. So some improvements in the final phase, some things that still need to get worked on, but let's see what everyone's saying here. Teresa says, in my opinion, jealousy is probably the motivation. How many legends would put up with the scrutiny they're dishing out? I mean, I haven't seen Bruno do anything on the pitch in terms of attitude that I haven't seen Roy Keane do on several occasions, honestly. I mean, short of literally ending someone's career with a tackle, Bruno's literally just gone in on his teammates, gone in on the refs, gone in on the opposition the same way Roy Keane used to do. So sometimes when we see a bit of ourselves in other people, especially the parts of ourselves that we don't like to admit that we have, we tend to go in a little harder on those other people because we're really not happy with ourselves. But I don't know, man. It's ridiculous. Rob said Scholes was positive about the lid after the game, even praised Højlund. Yeah, because they're realizing that some of these pundits and these ex-players are realizing now that some of their agendas have no legs to stand on, and they're starting to what you're gonna also start to see is they're gonna come around again and start to say, yeah, it didn't make sense to me while they were playing, Højlund as his hold-up player when that's not his game. He's actually got good movement. He just needs to get a little bit of that confidence back. The same stuff I've been saying for months, you're going to start seeing some of these people say because the facts are not there to support the agenda, even though they tried to force that. Lionheart says, Bruno is poison. He needs to be sold. Oh, captain, my captain. Yeah. Now, that being said, if a big offer comes in the summer from a Saudi club, I would still consider it for Bruno. I just would. It has nothing to do with Bruno. It has everything to do with the club. We need that money. Bruno is a little older. That's the last chance you're ever going to get money for him. So if a Saudi club comes back in for him like they did a couple years ago, and he said recently that he did get an offer in the summer, but he decided to stay. Like we can sell him. I don't have a problem with that. You just have to be smart about it and don't do like Spurs did when they sold Gareth Bale and buy 5 or 6 shit players with one Eriksson sprinkled in there, because that's just bad. Again, the money spent has not been as much of an issue at United as just the way we've spent it. So people want to keep pointing at how much we spent. Cool, but we spent it like shit. We had horrible people in charge of that spending, and we've done it without any semblance of a structure or a plan or a strategy. So that's why it was wasted. Every 2 years, it's a new manager with a new transfer budget and a new plan, and that's not the way you can do things. Timmy says, Timmy, welcome to the channel. Good to see a new face. Rasmus was terrific, and for the first time this season, they tried to play for him. Yeah, they did. I thought he had a much better season, or much better performance. Obviously got the assist. Again, the heel chop to create space for himself for that assist was a thing of beauty. You guys know I like a bit of silk. Yes, they were trying to get their head up overall. I think it was great. Like I just said, I think that we were trying to force it a little too much sometimes when maybe the better opportunity to score was just there to be taken by like Dorgu and Bruno. But again, it is nitpicking. It is splitting hairs. I'm not going to get too upset about it. It's just something I noticed. But moving on. But welcome, Timmy. Welcome to the channel. Good to see a new face. Moving on to number 3, Heavenly debut. So we spoke a little bit about Heaven, and Danny agrees with you, Timmy. So we spoke a little bit about Heaven earlier, rattled off some of those, but the kid, like, he just took to this like a duck to water, man. I'm telling you, like, what Arsenal were doing, and this is why when people tell you, oh, United, when Arsenal fans go in and say, oh, we just didn't want to pay him as much as United did. No, we actually give our youngsters a chance. We actually offer them a pathway into the first team. And this is why Cheeto, Heaven, we are giving these guys opportunities rather than letting them rot away in Arsenal's academy, which is why I'm hopeful for some of the players we have in our academy. If we can pluck these players like Lusale, Heaven, Cheeto from other academies, we can do the same with our own. That's why I'm not upset about the Giovanni Quenda news, because we got Camison, Montato, Scanlon. But on Heaven, so he came on for Maguire last time out for 45 minutes, second half. Even then, though, it was easy to see why United snatched him from Arsenal. And it's becoming more and more clear with every match he plays why he was hyped for the first team right away. Yeah, he took a couple seconds for him to get into the game. It's European night, Old Trafford, against Spanish oppositions. They're going to play a lot differently than you're going to see in the Premier League. Very technical, very good on the ball. He's probably not going to see a whole lot of that much more in the league. But as a defender, that's a nightmare. But again, he was excellent. 100% of his duels, made 4 passes into the final third, 3 out of 3 tackles, made 2 interceptions. And guys, he wasn't dribbled past once at all last night, Aiden Heaven. The kid was a monster. 88% pass accuracy on those balls, too. I saw, too, from Statman Dave. So I got to get allergy season's bad right now, so I got to get a drink of water. It doesn't help that I'm talking a lot, too. But so I saw a stat from Statman Dave that Aiden Heaven has not been dribbled past at all since making his debut for the first team. The kid's a boss. Just like Lenny Yoro, Heaven looks so comfortable, so composed for his age because he's still so young. We've got 2 teenage center backs that look like they've been playing that position for 10 years, the way just how comfortable they look. Every time he plays, he just looks just like nothing's worrying him. He just looks like he's been playing it for years. And he's looking better in every match than he did in the match prior. He looks like he's just growing into this level. I like him a lot, Aiden Heaven. I mean, maybe there's a chance we don't need to get a big money Lisandro Martinez replacement while we wait for him to come back from his injury. Maybe Heaven can be that guy. Like Danny said, his passing was getting better. Defensively, he's just rock solid. Like, I don't really, like, do we need to go out and buy one? I mean, an Olivier Bishali for free wouldn't go amiss, but the same, or like a Yarrick, the guy at Valencia who's going to be free, also young. But do we need to? Maybe there's other priorities, and but I hope that we're at least looking at all this stuff, the recruitment team, because we have to start planning this now. Because if you keep seeing players that we're linked with go to other clubs, the fans are going to start to rumble. Now, again, I don't care as much. Again, you never know how seriously we're in for some of these players like Quenda, but it's never any good PR that comes from that. But at the end of the day, we are still unbeaten in Europe. We are unbeaten now in our last 5 matches in all competitions. And I'm not going to lie, I feel like the result last night was much needed right now. The 4-1 result at home in Europe to go to the next round. It was it was like that Barcelona match in the Europa League a couple years back at home. Like that was such a big result, and we needed it. I mean, 4-1 to go home at home to go through the next round is such a shot in the arm for everybody, players, coach, fans. I feel like we won that, and everyone was like, oh, right. Um, it's so odd to me though how good we look in Europe this season and how shit we look in the league. I think it'll start clicking next season though. Again, like I said earlier, we're already seeing the system kind of work, even without the key players. And this is what, if you guys ever watched the United Stand, I think it was last season, like Rick the Red, he would make comments about like Rashford or the players who were scoring goals, and he would say, "Yeah, if Rashford wasn't there, somebody else would score." And everyone would give him so much stick. I don't think people quite understood what he's talking about. He's praising the coaching. He's praising the system. That this says when you get the system in and everybody's on board, you can pick apart that squad a little bit and you can substitute players in, and it'll still look the same. And I think that we're starting to see that. Amorim is finding a way to use the players he has without sacrificing a whole lot of the system. And we're already starting to see good signs. Keep playing like this, like we did last night, especially, and we could honestly lift a trophy in May. I mean, Olympic Lyon is going to be tough. They are doing really, really well. Turkey's having an amazing season in Europa League. He's got like 8 assists or something. But I think we have an honest to God chance of doing this if we can get past Lyon. A lot of big matches in the next round. For now, though, I think we need to focus on Leicester, keep this momentum going before we head into the international break, because it's going to be a big couple weeks. What's everybody saying? Kai, welcome back. Kai, good to see you. Says it was a good game. Happy for them. Yes, we are all buzzing today with that result. But big up, Kai. Good to see you again. So again, we've got a big game against Leicester this weekend. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to bother with a preview for that one, simply because we've played them like 1,000 times this season. There's only so many. I'm running out of different ways to say the same things when it comes to the match previews against Leicester, because nothing on their end is going to change. We are where we are right now. I don't know if it's, I might do like a news show if there's enough news and then kind of squeeze a little bit of a Leicester preview in there, but I just don't know if it's, I don't want you guys to have to listen. I mean, you can go listen to any of the other Leicester previews and it's going to be pretty much the same. So, but we'll see if there's enough news tomorrow. Maybe we'll squeeze it in because it is a quick turnaround on this. But we'll see. But the youngsters play today. The women's team play today. I haven't seen yet if the academy is going to be on MUTV. I think that kickoff's at 3, but they will play today, so that could be a fun match. You guys know we love to support the academy on this channel. I might start jumping on some women's watch-alongs in the future as well, because the women are doing pretty well. But we'll see. We're going to have a big match again, Leicester. I want us to win that match. I want us to go on international break on a high. Keep a lookout during the international break for some exclusive content. Hopefully Dylan will get a chance to join me virtually. We're going to be talking about managers post-Fergie. We might even talk about signings post-Fergie as well in another video. So keep a lookout for some of those. Let's see what you guys are saying here in the chats. Lionheart, this is why international football sucks. It breaks up momentum. International football just sucks, period. I hate friendlies. Justin was texting me about Club World Cup, and I'm like, it's a friendly, man. He was like, what, they got like $1 billion prize money, and I'm like, I mean, and I'm not saying anyone is right or wrong. This is how I feel about friendlies. I just throw as much money at it as you want. It's still a friendly. Like, it just is. Any summer tournament that isn't international football it's a friendly. It is what it is. So I hate friendlies. I hate international break. Like Lionheart says, they break up the momentum, which it could be. I mean, it'd be nice to get some players back. Now, the only way I'll be less frustrated about the international break is if our players don't go on international duty. I know De Ligt got called up, which is a bummer, because all I see is when I see friendlies mid-season is just injuries. I can't stand it. I think it's ridiculous to have to risk player fitness when we're the ones who pay their salaries. It's super annoying, but a friendly by any of the name, a friendly with any more prize money, it's still a friendly at the end of the day. So whether it's Nations League, Club World Cup, preseason, even, I don't get big up for preseason tours because I just don't want players to get injured. Granted, preseason in the summer, you don't really see a whole lot of the first team stars, so it is what it is. But that's going to do it for me, you guys. If you weren't able to catch the live, you can go ahead and leave a comment. You guys know I like to look out for the comments and respond to them. If you want to, check out the memberships. Consider, if you don't want to commit, there's always super chats, super thanks. Jump on those if you guys want to support the channel in that way. Again, never any pressure, but some people like to do that. So never gonna take that away from someone. Hit like the video for me if you haven't yet. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new. Help us on the road to 3K. And I will keep a lookout. Like I said, I might do a Leicester preview. I just don't know if it's worth it at this point because it's nothing I haven't said already. But if there's enough news over the next few days, we'll jump on and talk about the news and then maybe talk about Leicester a little bit in there. But until then, you guys, enjoy your Friday. It's supposed to be super nice here, so I'm going to run to the store. I'm going to walk the dogs, and then I'm going to go get my boots on, actually go kick a ball around and enjoy the sunshine a little bit today. So until then, you guys, take it easy. Thanks for stopping by. I will see you on the next one. Cheers.